Since COVID has allowed us to all work remotely, this has opened up new opportunities to working for companies that might not necessarily be in your backyard or really even in your own country. And in light of this, in today's episode, we're going to explore what it's like to work in and hire people for international teams. And to do this, we are joined by Sergiu Matei, who is the founder at Index, a business that helps growing companies hire world-class remote software developers and teams. And in this episode, you'll learn all about cultural nuances of hiring developers from one culture to another, how to deal with team members in different time zones, and the complexities of paying those who are based in other countries. Now, if you like this episode, some other episodes from Brains Bite Back that you might enjoy are the impact of gold and crypto on global currencies, inclusive UX, how design delivers impact, and software that predicts employee burnout through language. Disclosure: this episode contains a client and Espacio portfolio company.
So I'm founder of Index. We are a London-based platform helping enterprises like Go Euro, Omio, Vodafone or Twilio find and hire remote software developers.
Nice, and that's an impressive portfolio of clients there. Now, in today's episode, we want to explore hurdles when hiring or working in international teams and companies. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on as our guest for this episode is not only because of the work that Index does, but also the company that you founded before called Traveled. Could you tell listeners a little bit about that, please?
So before starting Index, I founded Traveled. It's a translation marketplace, localizing content for actually more than 6,000 brands, from Amazon e-commerce to movies and also logistics, manufacturing companies like Boeing and Swissport. I started the company almost 11 years ago, and we hired over the course of the years, we hired more than hundreds translators in more than 100 countries. We translate content in about 160 languages as of now.
That's a very large selection of places and languages. Now, I'm sure you've had a lot of experience all over the world. And given your experience, I'd love to hear what you think are the greatest hurdles when hiring talent internationally.
Yeah, so finding talent, I think, is the number one challenge, particularly sourcing or trying to understand who is your ideal candidate and where can you find them. It's much easier when, let's say, you hire based on your zip code or your city, but once you start looking internationally and assessing talent globally, then you go into different nuances of every country. Has its own job board site or a specific language or approach to source talent. Nevertheless, over the years, I've found out the best way to find talent is through referral. However, when you recruit globally outside of your network, then maybe this approach doesn't work. So your second best shot is to do more outbound, more outreach, build relationship, connect with local communities when you're sourcing and looking to hire internationally. Or perhaps you can access a talent network like Index. We managed to grow about 300% just this year, and also another 300% last year. Even in the pandemic, we saw a big spike in companies looking to hire remotely. And once you want to hire remotely, then there is no limits or there is no barrier where you can hire the talent.
That's some impressive growth, especially during the pandemic. Well done. Now, I would be curious as well. I know this might be a curveball question, but how international is your team? Which corners of the world do you have people in at the moment? And I'd just be interested to hear a selection of the nationalities that you got on your team.
So at Index, we have people based in UK. We have people based in France, Italy. We have a big part of our employees in Moldova. We have colleagues in Uzbekistan. We just hired somebody from a neighbor country, Kyrgyzstan, or we just made an offer to a colleague from that region. Also having developers in Colombia, in Ukraine, Romania, India, Pakistan. I enjoy this diverse group of people, talent that we managed to get together.
It sounds like a real mixing pot. It sounds also like you were kind of collecting one from each country as you go. I mean, as you expand, naturally, that's going to be the case. I'm sure it's not a bad goal to have. At least then you have like an understanding of cultures from literally everywhere. And I would love to know like what the about the cultural nuances of hiring developers you have experienced. I mean, for example, like I am from the UK, but I live in Colombia, and there's definitely a difference in how business is conducted. But there's clearly differences when it comes to business and work ethic, and just so many ways. So I'd love to know, like, for example, like why hiring in Germany, why would that be extremely different from hiring in Colombia, for example?
Yeah. So, for example, in Germany, when you're doing sourcing or trying to find talent, you would find out that a lot of people use Xing, not LinkedIn, for example, compared maybe to other countries in Europe. At the same time, we see people in CE region or LATAM tend to be more humble in a way, or shy compared to, let's say, US or UK or Germany. And I'm coming from this CE region, and we don't brag about our achievements, or not so often. We kind of try to be,
Like humble, would you say?
humble, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, more humble. When recruiting, you cannot assume that the applicant has told you everything about their skills, their experience, their extracurricular activities. I remember once I interviewed an engineer, and just by accident I discovered that he was building rockets, and for him that was pretty normal. And but you want to find out, and try to have a sort of dig deeper and try to understand, maybe give them some examples of accolades that impresses you, and that you can ask them if that's something they can relate to, or they have some similar experiences, and then you can find out some hidden talent, or people that perhaps are Olympic medalists in maths, or they worked for big sort of state company and did implemented bigger projects that you might find fascinating.
I mean, like I'm really blown away by that. That's really nice to hear because I didn't know that existed. I've not really been to much of Eastern Europe, I must have to say. Shamefully, I'd love to. It looks absolutely wonderful. But I didn't know that existed as a part of the culture, and I find that very refreshing because my main work is I have a background in PR, and I feel like PR is completely the opposite, where you try and spice everything up to look as impressive as you can and brag as much as you can. And I think that like the US definitely has a culture of that because it's like that kind of fake it till you make it or keep going. And I can see a difference there. Now, I would also like to know as well if you've found differences in time zones difficult when it comes to working with teams. And if so, like how have you overcome these issues?
Yes, actually, I love working with different time zones. And even before pandemic, I was living in San Francisco, and a big part of my team was in Europe. It actually helps me a lot to stay focused. You do your work, and then you have less meetings. As long as you have like 2-3 hours overlap, you can sync your agenda for those catch-up calls, and for the rest of the day, you can leave people to do their job. I believe employees need flexibility. For instance, when you work remotely, you need to trust more people and leave them to their job. And by working on different time zone, it's easier to do so. Given the fact you select the right people, you agree on deliverables, you provide proper tools, learning and support, and just get out of their way. So you can be there to help them, you can be there to lead, but I don't find it particularly difficult to work in different time zones, even kind of rewarding in terms of what one can accomplish during the day, and then not to be disturbed by meetings and slacks and chats and so on.
Yeah, I can understand that. And I definitely think tools are very necessary. So, certainly because, well, I work on Eastern time at the moment as it stands. And I'll be going to the UK actually in a few days to return home to spend time with my family for Christmas. And that's going to be particularly difficult because I'm about to experience this myself. But I think with certain tools, it can definitely facilitate, or it can definitely help. So certainly like Voxer, for example. I'm not sure if you've used that, but that's particularly useful just for leaving voice messages. And I find that even if you're not on the same time zone to have a call, you can essentially condense everything you want to say into a voice note, send it, and then once the other person hears it, they do the same thing. So it's a bit staggered, and it's not the same as like actually be on the phone with someone. But I feel that can definitely help. And yeah, with the right tools, it is manageable, no doubt.
Yeah, we use screen sharing tools where you can see the person, and also you can share the screen and leave some comments in Google Docs, and they also give that audio and video kind of touch to the text. We found that useful in the last years. Yeah, and voice like leaving voices. Yeah, and in Slack you can record, or Skype.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these tools are definitely essential in this new world of different time zones and international teams. Hopefully you're enjoying the show, and if you are, make sure you subscribe and never miss an episode. You can find us on all your usual podcast sites: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, and a whole lot more, including YouTube. And we want to hear what you think, so be sure to leave us a review. Just search Brains Bite Back wherever you get your podcasts. Now, I would also love to know about like if you have legal issues or anything that you've had as a problem legally when hiring an international team, or perhaps logistics of paying salaries or anything else along those lines, and how you've overcome them as well.
Yeah, so you're right. There are a lot of challenges when you hire internationally. Particularly for me, is paying globally. I'll give you some examples. For example, we're using Wise and Revolut, but they don't cover all the countries. For example, Revolut won't cover Ukraine, or Wise won't cover Russia, or both of them won't cover a lot of countries in Asia. You could use a bank, but then a bank will charge you a lot of fees. So you have in some Latin countries, you also have challenges transferring money and for those people to receive the income. And let's say when we worked with freelance translators, it might be a small project, and then you would pay like 10-20% of that amount in fees when making a sort of small amount transfer. You could use PayPal. PayPal is not in all of those countries. So this really kind of pisses me off, to be honest, these payments. Even if you use Wise, when you transfer from different currencies, they charge you of about a percent on conversion. And let's say you hire someone and you pay them, I don't know, 50, 60K a year, then it adds up. And then the Swift transfer also another fee. And then you get to 600, maybe 1,000 per year cost just on transferring the money. So you could give those fees back to employee to, I don't know, to go for a nice vacation. The way we use it is like we see, like we use it, for example, Wise, Revolut for in country or in between Europe, where the fees are really low, and we try to use the same currency so we don't lose money on transfers and employee get the entire amount. And for countries that are outside EU, or perhaps where you have this kind of exchanges, or you have high fees for Swift Pay, we try to use PayPal where possible. We try to use charge from the client side the fee so the talent can get the entire amount, or we could use batching, sort of collecting more payments and then making one transfer and lowering the fee per transfer because of that. So trying to be creative and trying to, to give those fees back to the employee or to the talent rather than to the bank.
Yeah, that's where you want it to be going to your employers, like you said, so they can do something nice with it. And I've experienced all of those issues that you mentioned, so I know where you're coming from. I would also be interested to know if any of your employees have expressed an interest in being paid in cryptocurrencies.
Yes, we did have such cases, and we paid is in crypto, but it's very rare and at this stage. And maybe we can do more of that, and maybe that's the way moving forward with reducing the fees.
Did you find that by paying with crypto, you're able to avoid more fees, or did it seem better overall in being able to send the actual value and money to them?
In our case, we did just a very small sample of those transfers, so I couldn't tell if at scale that's cheaper. But it also, at least in our cases, not all the employees have access. Also in those countries, it's easier perhaps in US or in EU to have access to different marketplaces where you can buy and sell or exchange those crypto assets into cash, so you can use that in doing groceries or paying your rent. So yeah, I think that the technology is not yet there, and it's still
I suppose it's still early days, you would say. It still needs time to develop. I get that. I can completely understand that. Well, it's exciting nonetheless. And I do have one more question for you before we go, and I would love to know, how do you foresee the hiring of developers and talent across the globe changing over the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think COVID just opened up a new opportunity and accelerated the remote trends. I think you should prepare for more even salaries between countries, since you hire people everywhere. They perhaps work for US or UK companies, being in Colombia or Pakistan or Ukraine. Then their salary will come closer to those of US. That's particularly what we see right now in the relating to hiring remote engineers, software developers. I think the advantage of arbitrage when you can outsource or hire engineers in developing countries is less of the benefit, and the difference between cost per hire shrinks, and you would pay more than before, because now you have companies looking everywhere. They don't hire just based on the zip code, and it's I think we are heading to a world where reducing this inequality and creating more equal opportunities for everyone everywhere, a more perhaps distributed world. So I'm excited about the future and about how we can do more and expand with remote work and offer opportunities for everyone everywhere.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right in the sense that, personally for me, I think people should be paid for the job they do and the work they put in, rather than based on where they are based, essentially. And I think being in Colombia, I've seen lots of people have opportunities to work remotely for US countries and receive pay that they would not be able to get here. And I think that's really inspiring, because they're able to do the exact same things that anyone else can do. So I feel like they should be paid the same as anyone else that can get that job, really, regardless of where they're doing it from. And I get the sense that with an international team, an international workforce, and international opportunities, there's more opportunity and equality for everyone across the world to be paid for the work they do, rather than just being stuck in wherever they happen to be a citizen of.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. And are you a fan of a football team? Maybe.
I'm not. I don't actually follow football that much, but I'm interested to hear what you've got for me.
It's like having Liverpool only of players born in Liverpool. You never win the Champions League. You need to have Mo Salah. You need to have Mane. You need to have all of this international players, talent that can you can build a winning top team with diversity and inclusion of everyone. I think that's the way moving forward. Yeah.
I think that's a great analogy, and actually surprisingly a football analogy that I actually understand. So well done. Fantastic. All right. Sergio, if people want to keep up with the work you're doing and follow you perhaps on social media, how can they do that?
So I'm on LinkedIn, but also you can just go on index.dev and drop us an email. Happy to work together, help in any way.
Fantastic. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Growing a company has many hurdles, from securing funding to expanding your business capabilities to ranking better on search. Each business challenge is uniquely complex. The solution to these challenges is growth-focused digital PR and marketing, and that's where our sponsor Publicize comes in. Publicize sets itself apart from traditional PR companies. It does not charge large retainers or churns out press releases whether you've got a newsworthy announcement or not. Publicize builds on your business's online presence and gets high-quality PR and media coverage for startups and entrepreneurs who are priced out of a broken PR industry. And for a limited time only, exclusive to Brains Bite Back listeners, you can receive a social media assessment as part of your package for any tier of service at no extra charge with this special promotion. To find out more, visit publicize.co/BBB. That's publicize.co/BBB. This is the end of today's show. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this and you want to hear more episodes just like it, then follow and subscribe to Brains Bite Back wherever you get your podcasts. We're also available on YouTube under the channel of our publication, The Sociable. Just search Brains Bite Back and you'll find all of our episodes there. We really love hearing what you have to say, so leave us a review on iTunes or on any other podcasting platform to let us know what you think. You can also reach out on Twitter at The Sociable. And finally, go to sociable.co where you can find all our episodes and plenty of articles on topics just like this. Thanks again for joining us, and until next time, stay safe and stay healthy.